They are my parents and traveled across several countries in the last 4 months just because my parents were arrested because of their spiritual practice in Fάλουν Ντάφα.
Μια πραγματική ιστορία σύγχρονου ολοκαυτώματος λαμβάνει χώρα στην Κίνα εδώ και περίπου 20 χρόνια. Το κινεζικό κομμουνιστικό καθεστώς συλλαμβάνει και διώκει ανθρώπους οι οποίοι το μόνο τους αδίκημα είναι ότι ασκούν μια πανάρχια κινέζικη πρακτική που βασίζεται στην αλήθεια, την ανεκτικότητα και την καλοσύνη. Μια τέτοια περίπτωση από τις πολλές χιλιάδες είναι οι γονείς του Λεμπίν, οι οποίοι συνελήφθησαν πρόσφατα, χάθηκαν, αγνοείται ο πατέρας και οι ιστορίες κάνουν λόγο ακόμα και για εμπόριο οργάνων. Είναι μια πραγματική ιστορία φρίκης, την οποία το κινέζικο καθεστώς προσπαθεί να την αποσιωπήσει και από τη Δυτική Ευρώπη. Λεμπίν, τι συμβαίνει με τους γονείς σου?
Fάλουν Ντάφα is one Chinese spiritual practice. There is one book, Fάλουν is the main book. 3 principles: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, and 5 gentle and soft exercises, including 1 meditation exercise.
And why China is persecuting this practice?
Because the Chinese Communist Party does not anyone to think freely, and the Chinese Communist Party don't want such a large amount of Chinese people. It's around from 70 million to 100 million Chinese people were practicing Fάλουν Ντάφα, and among them there was a lot of party members who were practicing Fάλun Gong. The Chinese Communist Party thought it's too popular, it's too much, and even though the Chinese spiritual practice Fάλουν Ντάφα has no interest in policy, politic, or economic interest, but the Chinese Communist Party is feeling threatening just because of the huge popularity. And the second reason is the former state president Jiang Zemin. He is considered as a very unpopular person, and he is very jealous of the popularity of Fάλουν Gong practitioners.
So, how many practitioners have been persecuted, and what happens to them? We hear about the camps and all that, about organ harvesting. What is going on?
In the last 24 years, nobody knows how many Fάλουν Gong practitioners have been illegally arrested, like my parents, been tortured, been arrested, and even been killed for their organs. It's about the forced organ harvesting by the Chinese Communist Party. It's a state crime against humanity. It's not a crime committed by private persons. That's terrible enough. The difference is that the Chinese Communist Party initiated the persecution and the forced organ harvesting from loving Fάλουν Gong practitioners.
Would it be possible in today's day and time that a government would incarcerate 1 million people, blood test them, get their tissue samples, put that in a database, and then sell their organs around the world? Would it be possible that professional doctors would commit such atrocity to extract organs from a live body? Because it's such a huge and unbelievable crime, it's impossible to accept it at the first sight.
Please rise. China Tribunal, final sitting. Sir Jeffrey Nice, QC, in chair. Please be seated.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the judgment of the tribunal. For over a decade, the People's Republic of China has stood publicly accused of acts of cruelty and wickedness that match the cruelty and wickedness of medieval torturers and executioners.
China has taken much more aggressive, assertive actions to prevent any information being known about, and that's an escalating trend.
What this tribunal did is said not only is this happening beyond a doubt, but certainly they also said this is a crime against humanity.
Victim for victim and death for death, the gassing of the Jews by the Nazis, the massacre of the Khmer Rouge, or the butchery to death of the Rwanda Tutsis may not be worse than cutting out the hearts, other organs, and the very souls of living, blameless, harmless, peaceable people.
What is your message to the people?
Firstly, we want the international society knows about the true situation of the persecution of Falun Gong in China, because the Chinese government has spread a lot of propaganda against the Falun Gong practitioners, against the Falun Gong. Secondly, for example, for my parents, they were just arrested and tortured, and even have the danger of the forced organ harvesting by the Chinese government. I want to call the international attention to the persecuted Falun Gong practitioners in my hometown city, including my parents. Nobody should just be arrested because of their faith. You cannot imagine that you will be arrested because you are doing yoga exercises in the morning or in the parks.
You said there is no political aspect in Falun Gong, right?
No. As Falun Gong was introduced first publicly for the first time on May 13th, 1992, Falun Gong itself, there is no political interest, because as a Falun Gong practitioners, as a person who wants to live spiritual values, truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, it's about self-cultivation, to be a good person.
And this is what the Communist Party of China didn't like. They asked your parents to sign a paper that they will stop to practice Falun Gong?
Yes, Falun Gong practitioners will be forced to sign papers, like a statement to give up their belief. To give up their belief. If they do not do that, they will be illegally sentenced to prison or transferred in the brainwashing centers. And you know what? The Chinese authorities or Chinese policemen, they have a better chance to get a higher position within the party system if they have more Falun Gong practitioners who sign the papers. And they know that what they have done to Falun Gong practitioners, like forced organ harvesting, are bad things. So they are afraid of the international public attention. Just on June 14th, 2 Chinese security policemen came to our home and threatened my mother just because of his son, just because of the protest letters to the party secretary. We will imprison your husband. They are not talking about the law rules. It's really only about the policy, dictatorship of the policy with which the Chinese authorities are still persecuting Falun Gong practitioners. Every second is too much. Now it has been more than 24 years.
Now, this tribunal has concluded that certain that Falun Gong is a source, probably the principal source of organs for forced organ harvesting.
Saying that the majorities of these operations do result in the deaths of people.
They all result in the death of people. Like, for example, we all know about somebody going and buying a kidney in a back street somewhere in a poor country. The fact is, in China, they take both kidneys and other organs as well. So nobody survives these organ transplants because they, as I say, they're dead after all of their organs are removed.
Doctors killed those innocent people simply because they pursued truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance in the case of Falun Gong practitioners, and lived lives of healthy exercise and meditation that was seen as dangerous to the interests and objectives of the totalitarian state of the People's Republic of China.
How do you think this modern Holocaust, if I can use this term, might be stopped?
Every kind of crime against humanity should be stopped immediately, because You know, the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners is not only about one persecution of Falun Gong practitioners themselves, but also a persecution of human rights, human values, because truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, they are universal moral values for every person. So firstly, you have to be well informed about the true situation about the persecution of Falun Gong in China, because there's such propaganda by the Chinese authorities spread around the world in the last more than 24 years. Secondly, for my parents, for example, there are postcards and protest letter action. Every person can sign the protest letter to the Chinese embassy in Germany or to the Chinese authorities, which are directly responsible for the arrest of my parents. Thirdly, it's very important, if you have social media, just post the protest letters you signed, just tell your friends on social media you have done rescue action, you have been part of the rescue action to not only to rescue my parents from the persecution, but also to stop the general persecution and forced organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners in China. And fourthly, if you have friends like lawyers, doctors, let them know that the persecution of Falun Gong is illegal. There is no legal basis. And tell your friends who are working as doctors and nurses, Falun Gong practitioners have been killed for their organs, and it's also illegal if European citizens go to China to get such kinds of organs. It's illegal. It's immoral. Every person should stand up to say no to this persecution of Falun Gong, and to say no to the brutal dictatorship of the Chinese government, because in the future we will look back at the history. If our children and grandchildren ask us, what did you do to stop this crime against humanity? And we have to be prepared to answer this question, because we have to really stand up to stop this crime against humanity immediately.
The conclusion shows that very many people have died indescribably hideous deaths for no reason, that more may suffer in similar ways, and that all of us live on a planet where extreme wickedness may be found in the power of those, for the time being, running a country with one of the oldest civilizations known to modern man, which ideally we should be able to respect, and from which we should be able to learn. Governments around the world and international organizations, all required to protect the rights of mankind, have expressed doubt as to the accusation, thereby justifying their doing nothing to save those who were in due course, it is said, to be killed to order. We will rise.